Another Wonderkid, yes, but is it enough? Casemiro talk from yesterday completely shut down. Casemiro not willing to take a pay cut. Couldn't bring that story up. That was a bit of a surprise. Manchester United stance on Joshua Zirkzee, and an interesting take from ESPN on what they expect to get back. Is this the clearest sign yet that Zirkzee is going to be shown the exit door at Manchester United? All of the players staying behind and the extra training sessions that they're going to be going through. No break for the rejects of the international duty. It seems a bit harsh saying rejects, doesn't it? But you know what I mean by that. Everyone who's been left behind isn't going to be getting away with it or having any time off, apparently. We're going to go through that as well, along with all of your morning interactions and all of your chats in the live comment section. Please get in there and get involved in the show, everybody. This is Forever United TV. Good morning if you are live, and please do get your comments in if you are catching up later on as well, everybody. Give me your thoughts on these top stories. Manchester United, we have mentioned this kid before and we have talked about it. I've done a little bit more research into this. Again, it's just one of them right now with what's on the line. Manchester United, should we really be looking at investing any money at all into players that could be the future? I get that this is where United need to be, but this kid is being priced at 16 million from Hertha Berlin. That is Kennet Eichhorn. You've heard of him the other day. He's a holding midfielder in the German second division as well, which is why I looked at this and thought, no thanks. I'm okay with what we've got right now. I understand United need to be all over the best up-and-coming talent for the future of the club, but have we not got enough? And if you are going to have to be spending serious money on a young player like this, then you expect him to be in the team. I don't think he'll get into the team. So what is the point, is how I see it. I mean, you could talk to me and tell me if you know more about this kid in the live chat. I don't know enough, and I don't really think that Manchester United should be pursuing anyone of that sort of valuation before we go into what is necessary, which is first-team players and the investment we've spoken about the last 2 days that's necessary in January, because United have got an opportunity here. We mentioned the coalition, Manchester United likely, along with all the other Premier League clubs, to be a five-man attack on the Champions League, five-team attack on the Champions League again next season, with top five getting Champions League places. The investment needs to come now. The investment needs to come in January. And anything that we've got spare, and it sounds like I'm scraping the bell for every single penny or something like that, but it matters. It matters. We talked about the UAE tour the other day and what that could bring for Manchester United. All of the money needs to be going in on one of the top targets and players that are really going to help Manchester United out now. And look, I know that this is not the ideal transfer window for that, but players like Eichhorn, however you pronounce his name, great, fantastic, but not for that amount of money. And this is a kid who's playing in the Bundesliga too right now for Hertha Berlin. So again, it's Manchester United's focus, being in the right places, but not at that expense. Where that should be going is on the likes of Elliot Anderson and pushing for that transfer to happen. Like we talked about yesterday, João Gomez, another player Manchester United should also be looking at and going for. The story of Conor Gallagher that we spoke about last night, which is still doing the rounds. A potential loan deal with an option for a 45 million fee to keep it permanent going into the summer. Things like that is what we should be talking about really for Manchester United, not stuff like this. That can stay behind. We've got the likes of Sekou Kone coming through, Orozco at 17, that we've bought the young Colombian central midfielder as well for approximate £1 million fee. It's players like that, that's great, but we should not be spending money on players that are completely unproven at the highest level. Anything around the 5 million mark is where I would cut it off on players like this. Definitely not. And yes, there is a lot of interest in him. There is an awful lot of clubs looking at him, and he probably has got something. But for us right now, I think we've got enough in that area in terms of the younger talent. We don't need to be really worrying and spending any of our money on that, because, again, there's only one thing that matters now for Manchester United, and that's European football. And I don't think the fans are going to be taken aback by any news like this. They're not going to be interested in news like this. I think what we will be looking at is the likes of Casemiro's future at Manchester United, like we discussed yesterday. Everything that we spoke about, potential pay and play play-to-pay contracts, incentivised contracts. Story on that coming up is that is not real. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. But I look at the Manchester United Academy right now, and I think that we have got enough in there to help Manchester United move forward if we need this season at a push. The likes of Kone, Jimmy Thwaites, players like this. I just don't think that United should be going out spending money on young players. I just don't think it's gonna help us at all. Because if we don't make European football, then we might not have Ruben Amorim as a manager, for instance. We might not have him there as an option. Well, looking ahead to getting the best out of these younger players going forward. I just don't like the sounds of these sorts of deals when that sort of value and price comes into it. And again, it was reported last night from the Daily Mail, on top of the story that we broke over the weekend, that we might be looking at this young kid. But let's just have a look at what we need now, I think, is more important. We've got so much talent behind the scenes already. I just feel this is just going to be one of them stories that people put out there because we realistically need to be investing. Like, we do need to be investing. And they're putting it out there because it's an easy investment for Manchester United. And there is probably it is a genuine story. So I just don't get excited enough about deals like that. I understand the buzz behind the scenes with the younger players coming through, and I would rather just bring our own academy players through now. It's about time that we've seen them. So when I see stories like this, it's like, yeah, meh. Do you know what I mean? It's like I want to see players coming in now. I want to see the players that can impact Manchester United's side now, and that, I think, is what we should be looking at. So I do think that United are open to bringing somebody in January, and I think we should be doing everything in our power, putting all our resources into that. There is so many different little stories flying around at the moment. For instance, yesterday, the Antoine Semenyo story that came out about him wanting to leave in January and telling Bournemouth that he wants out this transfer window, things like that. I just don't see where Semenyo fits in at Manchester United. Right wing back? I don't know. You've already spent so much money. Why is there no midfielders that United need coming out and saying this right now of that sort of quality? It is one of them, isn't it? It's like, yo, do you want another player like that? You can't say no if someone like that comes around, but we realistically don't need that type of player right now. And again, as good as it is and as good as signing that could be for Manchester United, I just don't see it happening at all. And we are going to miss out on that one, I feel, anyway. There is obviously the talk on Kobbie Mainoo. We're going to get into that also in a minute. But before we come to the live chat, I just wanted to bring up the Casemiro story, because we was talking about this in depth last night. And Casemiro from Manchester United, the talk of the contract extension, the incentivised contract extension for him, I just don't. I looked at it last night and I thought, I could deal with that. And I think everybody in the chat was pretty much 50-50 on it. It's the only way that Casemiro stays at a push is if we've got European football and his contract is going to be, well, slashed. Let's just say there's no way that he can be earning that amount of money. But this has come out from TNT Brazil. And this is the report from the Brazilian side on things. So Graham Bailey brought us the news yesterday on Casemiro being open to staying at Manchester United. But I think he was being, I wouldn't say he's being crafty with his report and his story there. Yes, Casemiro would like to stay. Casemiro is not in any position, apparently, according to Brazilian reports, to wanting to take a pay cut. This is what they have said on Casemiro potentially extending his Manchester United contract. The salary is big. United want to reduce it, but I think Casemiro does not want to lower his salary. Let's see what happens on that one. That's come from Sport Witness and TNT Sports. Journalists talking there. Again, going completely against what Graham Bailey was talking about yesterday. Yes, he would be open to stay, but no, he's not willing to take a pay cut. And I think, again, going off the poll that we said last night, about 49, it was about 50-50 on Casemiro staying on reduced wages. I don't think anyone's got a problem with Casemiro leaving Manchester United. I think United eventually do obviously have to move on. Good squad player to have and an option there, but only on reduced wages. I think the story from last night, realistically, looking at this and reading into what's been said over in Brazil right now, is it's just been completely shut down. Casemiro isn't willing to take a pay cut. And if he's not willing to take a pay cut, then it's goodbye Casemiro at the end of the season. And that story completely put to bed, it would seem. So a big saving for Manchester United there. You could also say he's on the cards if he is out of the door. We've discussed this in detail before regarding how much money Man United would save with Casemiro leaving. But everything around Manchester United at the moment is all around that midfield. And what we could do, potentially what we could do in January is go out and put a massive bid in for a real target. At Sky's reports yesterday, if you didn't see it, we're on Manchester United not expecting to make any transfers in January, which I think got everyone's back up a little bit and a little bit annoyed if we couldn't. Look, I get that United want to bring in the best players and the top targets, and they don't want to waste money. Like we just said, that's why I made the point of bringing up the young German kid in midfield, Eichhorn. We're not going to use him. But we need to be completely realistic now with what we're looking at here in this transfer market. Unless one of your targets that you are going to go and buy in the summer is available, then you just don't go out and buy any money. Sorry, don't go out and spend any money. Conor Gallagher on a loan with an option to buy at the end of it. A lot of people were looking at that last night going, yeah, I don't mind him being one of 3 midfielders to come in. And if he can help us this season qualify for the Champions League, if that deal is doable, then let's look at it. Mainoo has updated us on the Conor Gallagher situation already this week in saying that they didn't want to sell him in the summer. Why would they want to sell him now? If they're not getting a fee for him in January, they can't then replace him. And it's unlikely again. Look, I don't want to sound negative here in that United can't get anybody in January, but it is going to be incredibly difficult. I think we do have to go into the window with that look on things, that it's going to be tight. It's going to be very hard for Manchester United to get these deals over the line. Even if they get word from the players that they want to come, like what happened with Carlos Baleba in the summer, it doesn't mean that the player's gonna come. It's like Semenyo. We just spoke about them for a moment. Like Semenyo wanting to move away from Bournemouth in January. It doesn't mean that Bournemouth are going to sell him in January. It's like the stance that Brighton took with Baleba. We could get that player's head turned and we could get a deal on the table that they want to sign, but it all comes down to the price. And I think everybody's scrambling around in the Premier League to try and keep hold of their best players in January. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be incredibly difficult. But we'll get into the comment section now, first of all, on Casemiro, Eichhorn, younger players. Would you keep Casemiro? You can extend that conversation into the chat this morning that we was having last night if you want. If you missed last night's show, it was on Casemiro on reduced wages. Would you keep him? It was very, very split. I would say that from the live chat last night. It was a no, I thought, overall. But as a squad player, not too bad. But Manchester United will not match them wages and will not extend his contract on them terms. That is 100% certain. So the word from Casemiro's camp is, I'm open to staying, but you better pay me a fortune still. That's not going to happen because we all know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has already said when he first walked through the door that was a ridiculous deal to make for Manchester United financially, and there is no chance with the wages that some of the bigger players at United are getting right now that Casemiro is going to stay on the same going into 34, 35. If he, for instance, extended his contract for 2 years, it's never going to happen for him. And again, the younger players coming in at real value like Eichhorn, like that, for reported 15 million, I don't see that happening either. I would rather see Sekou Kone come through and play for Manchester United. I would rather give minutes to Kobe Mainoo than see somebody else come in and money spent like that in a January transfer window. It's what we need now, and the important thing is qualifying for Europe. Forget about everything else in this January transfer window. Look, build for the future, and that can happen in the summer easily. We've already got Sekou Kone coming through. Orozco is going to arrive in the summer as well. There's 2 more holding midfielders there. We don't need to buy another one in January is what my angle on this. So save that money. Don't extend Casemiro's contracts if he's not willing to take a pay cut. Start making these decisions. Start making these cutthroat decisions at United and move us forward. I think that's where we're at right now. And I don't think we are I don't think under Ineos we are going to be wasting any time. I don't think we're going to be chasing anything if we don't feel like it can happen. So maybe the first weeks of the window coming up are going to tell us a lot. And I mention the window because yes, we are still a few weeks away, but once we return from international break, we're into the last week of November, and then it's December, and it's just like 1 month building up then. And you're going to get so many reports and stories coming out about what could potentially happen. I think moves will start to go, if there is anything on the table, very, very quickly in the first couple of weeks of the window to try and get these deals over the line, I feel. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch, and we'll have it completely covered here, obviously, on Forever United TV. Get your comments in, everybody. Thank you already for all the likes. Please keep liking the video if you're enjoying the content. Mr. Dacia Sandero says, hi, Adam. All of the mega money earners have to be shipped out, and Casemiro is definitely one of them. A good player and great professional, but we have to move past him and a few others now. Well, yep, him. Maguire potentially. Nothing on the table at all for Maguire or Casemiro. Just discussions as it is at the moment. That's not changed. We spoke about Maguire, I think, 2 weeks ago now. Nothing has changed. So nothing to update you on that side of things either. Brighton sold Caicedo in January. Yes. We could look at plenty of deals that happened in January, and there have been some big deals happening in January. It just depends on the club's stance and what they're looking at, and if there is a club willing to match a price that they would have taken in the summer. Because, look, we've said this before, there's no guarantee that the player sees out the rest of the season in top form and he could drop off. If someone comes in with a substantial bid for any player in January, of course, that selling club or the parent club would be open to negotiations. We will see. We discussed Elliot Anderson. We're going to have to go in big. Otherwise, it's going to be laughed off. We're already getting told that the so-called price is being thrown back at United. They're around about the 100 million mark. There have to be, I don't know how United approach it, but I don't know, maybe a loan player as well in there, along with the deal. So they've got somebody there to actually replace Elliot Anderson. I don't know who that might be. Some people would obviously have mentioned Mainoo. I don't think he's open for that move. I don't think he wants to go to Nottingham Forest. More on him in a moment as well. Cas, Maguire and Bruno should all be moved on this summer and replaced by Anderson and Wharton. As much as I admire Casemiro, you don't extend the contract on a player that cannot play 90 minutes. No, this is a non-story. Get Gallagher in is a dynamo. I mean, Casemiro isn't a non-story. It's interesting because you could obviously have him as a squad player if he wanted to extend on lower terms, like we discussed last night. But I'm with everybody else. If I said this last night also, if Casemiro isn't willing to take a pay cut, then it's decision made. No thanks. Thank you for your service. Thank you for 4 years. Whether you think he was good or not, he's gone. It's as simple as that. And United, I feel, are already planning ahead and making the necessary moves. I think it's going to be a really busy summer for United. I do. Adam, we don't need squad players now. We need someone to raise the bar in the starting 11. That's also what the club has said. No, and that's what I've said as well, mate. And when I talk about Casemiro, it's not like we're going to get any money for him. He's leaving on a free. So if he was staying on a short-term deal, it wouldn't matter. We'd still buy players in anyway, and he would be sat on the bench. So United's vision, United's look on this, if Casemiro stayed in the club's eyes, would be at no extra cost, less cost, and still bringing in players. It doesn't change the fact that United are going to bring players in if Casemiro stayed, because he would only stay on very, very low wages. If he doesn't want to do that, fair enough, see you later. United carry on with the plan. They'd probably go out and bring another player in. Look, I've said this, and only through the stories of Bruno Fernandes and the potential move to Saudi, obviously that's now looking likely to not happen, and that was put to bed by Bruno's interview a few weeks ago. But all of Man United's central midfielders currently in the first team squad, I feel, are coming to the end of their time at United. I do. Going off what the reports are saying and the game time that these players are getting, Casemiro, if he still had the 2 years on his contract, I don't think would be going anywhere. but he's not. His contract is up, so he has to go. Agate isn't good enough. He will go. Bruno was what we just discussed then, but maybe he stays now because of that interview. And Kobbie Mainoo, obviously, no one has got a clue what is going on. Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail is reporting this morning that Kobbie Mainoo is insisting he wants a move from Manchester United still. He wants out. He wants a loan move away from the club. He wants game time. His mind is made up. And this is coming from multiple sources now. There's even another story as well, backing up the one from last week about Scott McTominay pushing Napoli to try and get Kobbie Mainoo in. Obviously, only if the club were open to selling him. I'm not saying that Scott McTominay is cutting behind United's back here or anything and saying, get Kobbie Mainoo in, let's get him out of there and let's save his career. It's nothing like that, obviously. But they've lost Kevin De Bruyne off. They're in a bit of a... let's just say, in a bit of a slump at the moment, Napoli. Poor Champions League form, 4th in Serie A. Obviously, they're not far away from the top. They're still not cut adrift. There's talks of Antonio Conte's future up in the air at the moment. Emergency meetings going ahead. What does this do for Rasmus Højlund? That's a big concern as well. Conte was out supporting Rasmus Højlund after his last game against Bologna. That's 2 games without a goal now for Napoli as a team. Definitely missing Kevin De Bruyne at the moment. And Rasmus Højlund isn't cutting it, you would say. He's in a bit of a barren spell again. And so there's little bits of concerns all over the place with United's loanees and then players that we have got still in our squad at the moment. I don't see a way out of it for Kobbie Mainoo. I feel like we are now just waiting to see what happens in January. Everyone's just waiting. I still don't think, even with the injuries that United have got at the moment, I don't see Kobbie Mainoo featuring. And Kobbie's got to look at it and say, do I stick around to play 2 weeks' worth of football while Brian Mbeumo and Ahmad are out of the squad for AFCON? Because that's what he's looking at, really. He might feature because we need him in them games, but I've said this all along. I just don't see Kobbie Mainoo with the wages that his agent's trying to push forward. That's not a bit part player. And United's view on this would be Ruben Amorim isn't using him that much, so why would we pay him 200 grand a week wages? It's not going to happen for him. And this is why I think Chris Wheeler of the Daily Mail, Nate Salt, were talking in their piece yesterday about Kobbie still insisting on a loan move away, and Napoli are more than ready to pounce on the Kobbie Mainoo situation. Let's get some more comments in, everybody. Get in, give me your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking regarding this midfield situation. I guess the logic of a Gallagher loan is for him to play 6 and sub for Casemiro, but the problem is still coach won't give Mainoo and Agate starts. If we bring anybody in, it's because Ruben doesn't rate Mainoo and Agate. It's as simple as that, isn't it? We all know it. We don't want to say it. No one wants to be down in tools. Like, no one wants to feel like they're the player that doesn't want to be part of the project. But you've got to sometimes just drop down to the player's view on things, and Kobbie's looks bleak, and you can totally understand. I've got nothing against Kobbie Mainoo wanting out of United. I don't now, because we now know that he's not going to play. And that's where we're at. I would love him to be part of the club and part of the squad, but he thinks higher of himself, and a lot of other managers probably would as well. And he would fit nicely into their 3-man midfield. And away he goes. Plays football, might get back into the England fray, and everybody's happy, but Man United are without another midfielder. So we've got a real problem here. Kobbie will push and push and push, and will that turn that into a bit of a problem for Ruben Amorim? But Man United don't have anyone to replace Kobbie Mainoo. We need someone to come in. If Kobbie's going to go, someone needs to come in for Man United. And this is the point, like 16-year-old links to Man United for German players who are playing in the Bundesliga too don't really interest Man United fans right now. It's not going to help us in the immediate. We want to look for a future with Ruben Amorim at the helm. He's not going to see these players coming in. He's not going to see these young lads get into Manchester United's side or build this future for the club. Not unless he starts getting results in the here and now. And the here and now he's getting into the Europa League or the Champions League this season. So who can come in to help with that? That's all we care about right now. In terms of that type of player, again, like I've said before, I'm all for, and you all know I am, for the younger players coming through and the development and what goes on behind the scenes at United. But right now, with January around the corner, all I care about is what players can come in and give Casemiro a break. Like the comments just said there, Casemiro can't play 90 minutes at the moment. Bruno Fernandes is doing Bruno Fernandes things, and you need someone who is going to cover him as well, who's got the energy to get up and down. Maybe it is Conor Gallagher. Maybe that is an option for Manchester United. Or maybe we do go and slap a massive paycheck on the desk of either Wolves, Forest, Brighton or Crystal Palace for one of the big guns. I don't see that happening, unfortunately. So think outside the box. A loan with an option for Gallagher looks the most likely at the moment, because Romano has also said, don't forget, that anything for Angelo Stiller is highly unlikely as well. Markash says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Casemiro is on the decline along with Bruno, Maguire, Dalot, Heaton. Why are United obsessed with keeping so many aging players? The game has changed. Move on. I think we are moving on. I think there is space in a big squad if you've got plenty of games to play for some players. Heaton's gone. And from this news this morning, I think Casemiro's also gone. The only debatable ones are Bruno and Maguire. I think Bruno will stay. Actually, the way it's going at the moment, I'm not too sure about Harry Maguire. Again, he can say he loves the club as much as he wants, but all these players want paying. Look at Kobbie Mainoo. I want 200 grand a week. Look at Harry Maguire's going to play more games than Kobbie Mainoo next season, even if he is the age that he is. So he's going to want similar. This is where the players look and where the agents look at it. With Kobbie Mainoo's asking for 200, then Harry Maguire stays on what he wants. That's their look on it. Because Harry's going to play more games. It doesn't matter how you look at it with the age and whatever, it doesn't matter. You know that Harry will have a better chance of featuring for Manchester United if Ruben Amorim's the manager. And so he's going to want the same sort of money. And I mean, I just need to make a decision on Kobbie soon, because it'll be another year gone. And then another year closer to him running out of his running his contract down. And now he has still got plenty of time. I think he's still got 2 years left, Kobbie Mainoo. So we can look at that and say that that is safe. But at this point, realistically, you should be looking to either extend or move him on. Don't let it drag down to the last year of his contract, because you know what will happen there. He'll end up leaving for nothing and going thriving somewhere else, and United will end up looking their wounds, not getting anything. I think this summer is a massive summer for him and United to make a decision. I think they end up, personally, if you was asking me now what I think will end up happening, I think they end up selling him. I do. Look, Kobbie Mainoo isn't part of the international fold again, and there are and there is a report going around this morning that the Manchester United players who are being kept behind, I think there is about 11 of them, including Zirkzee, Mainoo, Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, players like this. They're all going to be doing extra training at Carrington. No breaks for the players that aren't on international duty. It's business time now, and United and Ruben Amorim, a report from the MEN saying that there is no plans for any breaks for any players. It's extra training, and a lot of the academy players will be integrated into first team training to replace, of course, the ones that are out on international duty. So expect to see plenty of pictures of academy players training at Carrington over the next week or so. And one of them players might actually be Sekou Kone himself, and Patrick Dorgu, who are on the same training plan right now, doing extra sessions, both of them players together. So again, good to see the likes of Kone actually integrating into the first team, doing these extra sessions with the likes of Patrick Dorgu. Let's not forget, Dorgu is still young himself. He's still in his early 20s, so not much difference there. Good for Kone to pick up onto some of the first team players though. And I think he's the one. Like, we're looking at him at maybe a Conor Gallagher deal, something like that, and then maybe someone like Sekou Kone stepping forward into Manchester United's first team squad to see us through the end of the season. But yeah, no plans. I mean, when you look at the players that Manchester United have got left behind at Carrington, it says a lot, doesn't it? Your Mainoos and your Zirkzees, Maguire, Mount, Shaw, these players that are not featuring. Tyrell Malacia as well. Another story on him this week about Ruben Amorim actually speaking with the squad on Malacia and getting their opinions. And it was a resounding yes in terms of reintegrating him back into the Man United squad. Apparently his attitude has changed, and maybe he's another option for our left side that we've all been talking about. Malacia obviously not on international duty either. So plenty of options there for Ruben to work with while the other players are on international duty. But again, maybe this is a chance now to gauge where these players are at. Maybe Ruben Amorim takes the time and takes this opportunity to speak to Mainoo, speak to Joshua Zirkzee while all the other players are out on international duty. He has been coming out and telling us that they have all been training well, that they've all been putting the shifts in, doing what's necessary. But again, I don't think he's going to be changing any of that first 11 for anyone that we talked about there. Harry Maguire might be the only one, really, in that group of players. Mason Mount maybe at a push. Obviously Luke Shaw as well, sorry. So 3 English players there. The English trio that could actually feature in Ruben's team going forward. The rest, I don't actually think I've got a chance. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think they do have a chance of making the Man United squad for Ruben Amorim or starting a game coming up anytime soon anyway. But when you look at you've got a lot of games coming up right now. Injuries could change the whole look of the transfer window. AFCON is going to change everything as well. There is an interesting piece here from ESPN's Mark Ogden as well this morning on Joshua Zirkzee's situation. Now, Manchester United actually would be looking to sell Joshua Zirkzee, not loan him, but sell him if they could. And the club actually feel like Zirkzee's value would be similar to what United paid for him. So United are expecting to recoup all of the money they spent on Joshua Zirkzee. That's the feeling coming out of Manchester United, as reported by Mark Ogden of ESPN at the moment. Joshua Zirkzee for approximately 36 to 40 million. Is he worth that? There are clubs in the Premier League, like what Sky Sports have been reported, that have Joshua Zirkzee right at the top of their transfer wish list. Like Everton and West Ham are ready to spend and would go for Joshua Zirkzee. Manchester United, apparently, according to these reports, have made it clear they would prefer a permanent sale of Joshua Zirkzee, not a loan, which tells you what they think and what Ruben thinks of Joshua Zirkzee. Again, we've said it many a times that he doesn't look like he is flavour of the month, but this report pretty much nails the coffin shut for Joshua Zirkzee going forward. There is no space for him in that first 11, and United, I think, are willing to cash in as soon as possible on Joshua Zirkzee. And that, I think we can all see coming. But then again, we need options. If United sell him, then expect United to go into the transfer market. United have been linked again with Ivan Toney as a forward. You could try and get Jean-Philippe Mateta. I doubt that would happen. We was asking the question the other day, is there any strikers out there that you would go for that you think could come in to Manchester United and do a job? Ivan Toney's deal is thought to be too expensive for a 29-year-old, and Ineos would not spend that money. I'm not surprised. He would want massive wages as well, so you can forget about Ivan Toney. Manchester United letting Zirkzee go might be a huge mistake, because I can't think, and somebody tell me in the chat, I don't think there's anybody out there that Manchester United would actually be looking at striker-wise. I can't see anyone stepping in, is what I'm saying. I don't see the options there for striker. And if you think Joshua Zirkzee is a striker or not, I don't know where we would go. I think it would be, obviously, go for it in terms of getting the maximum value. And if someone comes in January because they're desperate, you might be able to get your money back. But are you leaving yourself short if you get rid of Joshua Zirkzee now? This is what we've got to look at. I don't think United have got any forwards really to step up. Chido looks like he still needed another year at least when he was on pre-season this summer. He's had an alright season so far at United for the under-21s. He's playing up against some decent sides in the EFL trophy and things like this. So, yeah, I mean, it would be kind of desperate for Man United to bring in, I'll let Zirkzee go at this point. If you're chasing the money, then it might be worth it, but yeah. I just don't see anybody out there at the moment that could come in and do a job. Look, I might be missing someone here, and you tell me in the chat if you think there's anyone out there striker-wise that United could go in and get. Let me know. Get your comments in, everybody. Let me see what we've got in here already. Almax says, we don't need another specialist striker. Amarin barely plays Sesko. You could buy a Semenyo and rotate him between the wing-backs and centre-forward as needed. Would you go for Semenyo? If he's available in January and he wants to go, and he says he's available for a transfer, United have got the money, would you go and buy Semenyo? Would you put him in that team, put maybe Cunha up there as a 9, and just have them free, and Bumo maybe moving in there as well, while Zirkzee becomes, where Sesko becomes available again? Or would you go out and get him? Apparently there is a clause in Antoine Semenyo's contract, a release clause, that I think he could move to 3 different Premier League clubs with that move. Now, this is a player that, he would change so much of Manchester United's dynamic. The pace and power factor in Man United's front line, if you had a Cunha, Mbumo and Semenyo set up, Jesus wept. Yeah, you can see where we're going with that. Like, it seems strange that Semenyo would be available, but I think he's taken advantage of that contract that he signed here. I think we've got another Matthias Cunha on our hands. Look, the story came out yesterday that Semenyo has come out and said he wants to leave in January. And that's there for anybody then to pick at. Who has got the money to go out and get him? Who has got the space for him in their team right now? Liverpool are obviously the favourites for him. But again, where does he fit in at Liverpool with what they've got going on right now? I just don't think that is the move for him. Man United, I tell you, I still think we've got to look at the midfield. I really do think the midfield is important for United. I don't know. I don't know, is me honest. If the chance was there and he was there for the right money, of course, like Ferguson always said, when the players become available, United are always there and are always interested. So let's just see. That is a quality player right there in Antoine Semenyo. Another plug-and-play, Prem-proven player. It would definitely spell the end for the likes of, I feel, Joshua Zirkzee, 100%. Who else? You're struggling then when Sesko's fit to get Mason Mount in the side. Can we turn Mason Mount into that other midfielder? I don't know. You got to think around it, haven't you? You got to then start thinking in your head and start playing a little bit of Championship Manager and a bit of FIFA there and thinking, could you drop Mason Mount into the midfield too with his energy? Is he the right player to play in that 2-man midfield out of pure desperation? Could an academy player come through? Could you keep rotating it? Yeah. This is where you start talking Antoine Semenyo, isn't it? People saying Osimhen, are you serious? Like, he's just signed for Galatasaray. He's not coming to us, Lawrence, but I would take him, yes. I would take him, but there's no chance that he's leaving there now. Let's get some more comments in on this one. Yes, but not to the expense of bolstering midfield. Same with Gehi. The two of Anderson, Baleba, Wharton, plus Semenyo and Semenyo. Can you imagine? Yeah, I get that. You don't want it to take away anything from the kitty that we would invest into a midfielder. But it's hard to say no to Antoine Semenyo if he wants to come. That would be a game changer for United. It really would. But it's just, why is it only number 10s that are available or attacking players that are available for us? There's no out-and-out number 9s. It's just like these versatile hybrid forwards that seem to be available everywhere at the moment. Cunha and Mbumo and Semenyo up front. Rotate Mason Mount with Casemiro. You see, you get to thinking, don't you? And then you get like into a conversation with yourself in your head, and you're like, could that work? Could we actually make that happen? And you're like, I still want a midfielder. Yeah, but yeah, another Another AFCON player, obviously, as well. But I'm going to be honest, like AFCON, I'm concerned about AFCON, but I don't think it's going to hamper Manchester United too much. Yes, there is going to be some upheaval. There's going to be players playing that probably aren't as good as what's left. I get all of that. But it's the same for everybody else. There's other teams in the Premier League that are dealing with this as well. So let's look past AFCON. If you're buying a player, then you buy him because you see him featuring for Manchester United in the long term. So yeah. Imagine Adam, Semenyo left wing back, Cunha 10, Sesko front, Ahmad right wing back, and Mbumo there as well. Yeah, could you play Semenyo as that wing back type? I mean, he does track back, but God, he would be a powerhouse down that left or right hand side, wouldn't he? For United, I think we're entering into the realms of dreamland there, aren't we? In that conversation, all of the gear up front, but then the engine still lacking in midfield. Tomo says Sarr from Palace would fit straight into our first team and would cost around 25. Would he cost around 25 million? No, because he is rated highly at Palace, mate. Andrew says Mount is probably a better fit for that shift than 10 to 8 than Bruno is, so it's worth a try. The thing is with Mount, when he's in that position, are you thinking that he's going to be overworked? We still don't know the extent of what Mason Mount is dealing with right now. Since coming off, he's not really featured that much for United. So, yeah, is he nursing something again that we don't know about? Well, if Wilcox insists that Ruben plays at free in midfield, then we can use our other lads and focus on the wings. Well, I don't think Wilcox is going to be able to convince Ruben to go full on 4-3-3. I don't think that's going to happen, but we can still adapt it maybe. I wonder what's going on right now at Manchester United, conversation-wise. If Antoine Semenyo was available and he would be open to moving to Man United in January, what would Man United be thinking right now? Can you say no to a player like that if he is there, even though he's not in a position that you need at the moment? Would you try and tweak things to fit that player in? Is that not what we've made the mistake with before? That's the conversation that needs having, isn't it? Don't forget, the AFCON was supposed to be in the summer last year till FIFA brought in the Club World Cup. Yeah, I know. Just another FIFA brainstorm again, isn't it? In terms of bringing different tournaments in. There is that new rule coming in as well about the 72-hour turnaround as well. Did you see that? It's about teams definitely getting 3 days, not fast-tracking games and playing fixtures right on top of each other. Not likely to come in for a while yet, but still, I'm looking at that going, yeah, that should have been there a while ago. That should have been there at the start of this season. There is too many games going on, and I just think that, again, FIFA is going to continue to chase the money, and we are going to suffer, and I think the other leagues will suffer for it as well, because unless you're at the big clubs, you're not going to be able to earn that big money. And I think players will be jumping ship from some of the smaller teams as well if there's money being thrown around into other tournaments by FIFA. Stick Martinez in midfield. Yeah, lots of people have said this. I don't want round pegs in square holes. Definitely not. If we wasn't in for Semenyo, why did we try and get him in the summer with the meeting with Amorim? Well, we ended up buying 2 other 10s, didn't we, Lee? So that was the difference. We brought in Mbumo and we bought Matthews Cunha. So, yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. I think we probably were interested in him. It's where you actually see him playing is the interesting, where he fits in at Manchester United, probably more than anything else. Because I don't think the fee is that substantial. I think it's not a definite, but stories of a release clause for Semenyo are there, and it's not out of the way in terms of the actual price for Semenyo, considering what we've already paid for Cunha and Mbumo. It's an interesting one. And I'm surprised that the story's actually already been leaked and come out that he wants to move in January. We'll see on that one. Look, that is pretty much all of your news. Again, another midweek in the middle of the international break. Obviously, it is a little bit quieter on news as well. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us this morning. Of course, make sure you do get your comments in on the show after the live is finished as well. We'll bring you any updates from the internationals. We're still waiting on Benjamin Sesko's injury update also. So we'll get into that when that does drop officially. We are expecting that any time now. I don't know why Manchester United haven't released anything yet, but as soon as that comes, we'll get into that as well. Get your comments in. Please pop a like on the video. That'll take us over 200. Thank you, everybody. Cheers to everyone. New members in the house and everybody who's commented today. Thank you so much again. And mods, as always, fantastic job. And yeah, I will see you all later on. Have a good day, everybody.